Okay, we're back. Hope you can see me okay, hear me all right. Put it into the chat and let me know. All right. Right, so in today's analysis, we're looking at the markets having been consolidative. Are there any potential breakouts across the major currency pairs? We've seen the Kiwi and the Aussie already losing ground against the dollar, against the greenback. So, with all that said, first off, okay, here we go. Hey Diana, how you doing? Hey Jumarina, it's good to have you again. Hey Anil, how you doing? Yeah, so we're back on the daily analysis. Didn't manage to do the stream today. I was on for a while and then it just disconnected. But then again, markets haven't been moving too crazily apart from the yen coming right back down right now, and the Aussie and the Kiwi coming right back down as well, or starting to come right back down. Right. So again, if you're on the session, do drop a message. Let me know where you're joining us from. Let me know that you're on the session. Let me know where you're joining us from. You can help me out massively by remembering to click on that like and subscribe button. And if you have any questions at any point in time, please feel free to put it into the chat and let me know. Okay. With that, not a lot to catch up on in terms of news, but because yesterday was the US and Canada on their Labor Day bank holiday, so markets were pretty consolidative, right? We did see the yen continue to push up towards that 147 level. I'll show it to you on the chart shortly. Continue to push up, tested 147, now pushing back down, currently at 146.12 based on the Forex factory pricing. I have been shorting it down, I've been selling it down, so I'm very happy. Um, we had I had a trilogy of trades on the yen pairs, euro yen to the upside, pound yen to the upside, and what was it? And US yen to the upside towards 147. So that was all I was busy with yesterday. Let me know if you got into any trades, whether it made money or lost money. Put it into the chat. Let me know. We can do a quick review as well if you would like. Hey YJ, how are you doing from South Africa? Good to have you with us. Thanks for joining me. Diana on the CAD yen. Diana, I give you first time, well, not first time, now back to being the first one on the session. I give you the crown of, you know, somewhat making me look into more different currency pairs, right? So maybe soon I will start looking at CAD yen as well. You almost got me focusing on the Swiss yen quite a lot before. And then we went off the boil on it and it lost a trend. Now we might look at CAD yen. Okay, so again, back to it. Not a lot in terms of the news from yesterday, right? Not a lot in terms of the news from yesterday. For today, we had some data which was being released. There was a talk. There was a headline which confused me a little bit. Where was it? Let me see. I can't find the headline. I saw that early in the morning and I was like, wait, what's going on? Right? It There was a headline that said that the RBNZ cut rates. Right? There was a headline that the RBNZ cut rates. I might have been half asleep and didn't read it properly. So I jumped on and then I went like, wait, there's no rate cut. There's no RBNZ interest rate decision today. So don't know what happened there, but we also did have some news from the Kiwi about internet outage in Auckland. RBNZ responds to deterioration in economic outlook by commencing. Oh, that by commencing easing cycle, quarterly predictions, right? So that was that talk. Seems like we might be looking at the RBNZ cutting rates in the next decision, and then also about the RBA. I know I'm just looking through a lot of old headlines or looking at the headlines, but there was another line about the RBA possibly, the Reserve Bank of Australia possibly looking at the rate cut decision as well. That's why we're seeing, I think that's one of the reasons why, I can't find the headlines here, but that's possibly one of the reasons why we're seeing the Aussie dollar and the Kiwi dollar losing ground so far, right? Aussie dollar down 38 pips, Kiwi dollar down 28 over the last 6 hours. Pound yen massive drop at 147. Now, with that said, get comfortable, get ready. Hey Edwin, how are you doing? Hey Lily, good to see you again. With that said, today we have, well, we just had the CPI for the Swiss 30 minutes, just over 30 minutes ago, was a minus 0.2%, expected a 0.1, came out at a 0. Not too fussed about the Swiss, about the Kiwi, no, about the Swizzy, right? Didn't move too much. It popped up, came right back down, sat right there, now still sitting in the middle. So not too bothered about that. Tonight we do have US ISM manufacturing PMI to be released for the US 46.8, 47.5, still within that contractionary phase, which looks like if it does push up to 47.5, it might bring about a little bit of a bump to the upside, but I'll show you the dollar index shortly. There is that resistance at 102 that's going to most likely act as quite a strong resistance level. Okay, then after all that, through to tomorrow, early at 9:30 a.m. GMT plus 8, we have the Aussie GDP to be released quarter on quarter, small increase from a 0.1 to a 0.2. And then the big one tomorrow is the BOC with the interest rate decision, looking to go from a 4.5 to a 4.25%, a 25 basis point rate cut expected to come from the BOC tomorrow night, right? And then we have JLTS after that, and then Thursday ADP non-farm through to Friday the non-farm payrolls, the non-farm employment change data to be released. So with all that said, let's look at the dollar index. But before that, how are you doing, Basanta? Good to see you. Tele, okay. Media, tele media. US yen is going to come up. I'll bring that up shortly. So stay tuned. All right. Okay. So what's happened here on the dollar index? Let me do that. Let me do that. Okay. You see here that we had that push to the upside. It was within the channel. It's broke out of the channel. So I'll take that away shortly. But what we have is, I'll take that away. So yesterday we were anticipating that it's going to push up. It could break down, but it stayed consolidative within that range. No big surprise with the US on a holiday. 102 being that big resistance level, which I think is going to provide a little bit of a cap to the upside for the dollar. Right, so what you see here is, or what you take that away for now, is that we have this big resistance here, but I know you all like your chart patterns, especially those who like your chart patterns. You see this move up, right, and then you'd see an area right across. First person who tells me what chart pattern this is wins a good pat on the back, right? Take that trend line away for now. Push it back up. A big push up and then a horizontal consolidation Anyone with a chart pattern while I'm looking at the overall trend? Let me see. All makes sense. I'm happy with that. Diner with the bearish flag. Thought it was a bullish flag. Should be a bullish flag, if I'm not wrong. Looks like a bullish flag or bullish pennant kind of pattern, right? A big push up and then a consolidation. The somewhat of an expectation is that the dollar index could do this, could break out, and if it breaks above that resistance, we could see a big push to the upside. But I actually hope that it is a bearish flag. Basanta is a good one for patterns. Yeah. Okay. So it is. I'm not big on patterns. I'm not huge on patterns. So I do think that yes, although there seems like there might be a bullish flag or pennant or that kind of pattern, still within that consolidation, right? And still sitting within that consolidation, I still prefer. I rather look at it as the dollar index having that resistance between 102 and 101.80, forming that whole resistance and at 50% level right there. And it seems like it's failing to break higher, right? So I'm still in the view that if it does break out, I want to see it break below 101.50 to show that downside potential. I don't think it's going to go all the way today. All right, I don't think it's going to go all the way today, but I'll be quite happy if it does comes down to that 101.10 level. Okay, so hey Augusto, how are you doing? Today being the 3rd of September, dollar index. I think we're going to watch the resistance at 102. Can't type today. 102 round number, right? But I am looking for downside needs to break 101.50, could trade down to 108 okay, 101.15. There we go. 101.50, which is that 23.6 pip level. Right? So it's pushing, it's in that consolidation. Right? Still in consolidation. We'll watch that resistance at 102 round number, but we are looking for it, well, I am looking for it to break down from 101.50 down towards this area at 101.10. Okay? So that is the view, that's my view, my bias on the dollar index, consolidative with potential downside move on the dollar index. With no major news, no major craziness to come, I think that's quite possible. I think that's possibly going to hold through to the JOTS jobs opening 818 to 809, might show some weakness there. ADP, bit of an improvement maybe. Non-farm 114 to 16 to 16.4. Unemployment looking to go from a 4.3 to a 4.2. It's only just went up to 4.3. So they're possibly looking at a moderation. It looks like it could be pushing back in again. CME Fed Watch tool I don't expect a big change here. We're looking at a 69%. So it was just 64.70, now down to 69% chance for 25 basis point rate cut and a 31% chance for 50 basis point rate cut. Okay, so I do see that as a potential. Main thing is this level here. If it breaks past this point, then we could see a good strong retrace. But for now, I think it would still be okay to look for that break of a consolidation to the downside. Right. Yes, US yen is my favorite pair. Yes, no problem. I can look at pound Swiss franc as well. Okay. Now consolidation, looking at the Kiwi dollar. Right? So looking at the Kiwi, we were yesterday saying look for reaction at 6220, look to sell down below 62. It popped down. I did get, let me move this to the side a bit. I got into this morning or morning afternoon as it broke that 6220 level and pushed down. Fortunately, before this stream, right before this stream, I got out of my trades. You all know I don't like holding on to trades during the stream, so it was a quick move to the downside. Got out of it, closed small trade, very small trade to the downside. I got in a little bit earlier at that point, 6210, right? So it's only I think a 20 pip move to the downside. It came back up, closed at 20 pips, right? So that was my Kiwi trade. What I'm thinking here now, you can see that it broke 23.6. Why is the button still black? It's broke that. It came down to that 38.2 before, slightly before that, and bounced. Remembering we're anticipating further downside on the dollar. It looks like we might see the Kiwi retest this level. Right, again, remembering it broke 6.2. Right, it broke 6.2. It's bouncing back up. What I would be looking for here would be like that, and it needs to stay below this point. So Kiwi dollar to test and then push back down again. Although we're anticipating that the dollar could lose ground, the dollar index could weaken, I feel like with the headlines that we've just seen today on the Kiwi, right, on, where was it? Deterioration in economic outlook and all that, we might be seeing the Kiwi push back down. So you're going to see it test. If it stays below 6230, you look to sell it down again. 6210, same as what I did just then. Now 6205. Stop loss 20. And then take profit. I think I will still go back down to 50. Down to 50 here at 60 pips. Okay, so we're looking for the Kiwi dollar to test, reject, push back down. If it doesn't test and reject, you look to sell down below that low point down to 61.8. Right, but if not, test and reject, 6205, 20 to 60 to the downside. Fantastic. Thanks, Ronaldo. I love it when we're in alignment. I love it when we're being aligned. Okay, 6220. So 6205, 20 to 60 to the downside on the Kiwi. Looking for a retest on, I can't see that word, on GU. Okay. All right. That's Kiwi. Aussie. I was looking for that upside move. That did not happen. That did not trigger. So we take all of that away. And we were looking at the head. And now you look at this on the H4. Very ugly head and shoulder, if anything. Right? Like that. I don't know why I'm spotting so many head and shoulders nowadays. Like that to the downside with that neckline there. So back to the H1, I would say that I think there might be a little bit more of a retrace back. You see that it was out of the Bollinger. I'm paying attention to these three candles here where it um, doesn't it doesn't like that downside move. So I'm anticipating a retest of the resistance again. Right? So I do think that there might be a little bit more of a push back up on the Aussie. What's rejecting? No, okay. Push back up. I don't. I think it's going to retrace. I don't know how far it's going to retrace by because it just came into this whole area. It looks like we might even see it come back up into this resistance. Right? It looks like it might come back up into that resistance. And I wouldn't be surprised with that if the dollar does continue to push down. So looking for this to break up, could retest 6.8. I wouldn't do anything on the Aussie yet. Right? Aussie dollar could retest 0.68 resistance level. We're watching for that. Is retracing, could retest 0.68 resistance. Okay, then onto the Aussie Kiwi, we saw, so if you look at that push, that up and down, up, down, and up again, we're kind of seeing that in a greater extent of that up, down, and then possibly up again. But if you think about it, we're anticipating that the Kiwi dollar could test, reject, and push back down. Aussie dollar doing that. Actually, I kind of like that. I'll keep that view on the Aussie Kiwi then. I'll keep that view on the Aussie Kiwi to push back up 1.0910, 20 to 70 to the upside. You might be having a hesitation at 1.0960. So you could even be looking at a 50 pip move first to the upside. Okay. So that's what I'll be looking for on the Aussie Kiwi. If it breaks down, Aussie would be climbing. Kiwi would be climbing as well, or Aussie climbs a lot. If Aussie pushes right back up, no. If Aussie tests and reject, I don't see that downside move. It might come back down, but I'm actually more looking forward to that push higher on the Aussie Kiwi. Okay, then on to, so I like that one, the test and reject. I will probably go a bit cold on the Aussie because it's just in the middle of, it's going to come up into the middle of somewhere nowhere. Aussie Kiwi could have that push to the upside. Then we look at the pound dollar. Oh, wow, look at the pound dollar. I was flagging this in the Discord group on that head and shoulder neckline break. We were looking for it to break below 1.3110. It came right down, didn't break, pushing back up. I think with the dollar index showing that downside potential, wouldn't be ready yet, needs to break that 101.50 level. We're seeing this, and if the dollar index does break 101.50, then what I would be looking for would be a sense of 1.3160. Stop loss would be, well, 40. Take profit, you could do 100 back up. Big dollar weakness to push the pound dollar back up. I would look at that. Renato says its descending channel might rebound and break to the upside. Maybe not a channel. Okay, there you go. That's a channel. Yeah, so you get that whole confluence where you have that support level, well, support turned resistance level. It needs to break. It could break that channel and push up. I got my TSRI MAC looking like a crossover as well. It's coming. So what could happen is a break, test, break that way. I'll keep that 1.3160, 40 to 100. Okay. Buy 1.3160, stop loss 40, take profit. Take profit 100. Now let me see. Oh, yeah. Okay. Can it? That's the thing though. Can it push all the way back up to 100? If the dollar has that big drop, possibly. Ronaldo wants it to test 38.2 down here. I think if it can push down to 38.2, we could see a big, massive drop all the way down. All right. If we see 38.2, we could see it come back down more. But there are no major news on the pound. No major news on the pound, and we're seeing the dollar, unless the dollar reverses from here. So it's right, that's a big question mark here, right? Is that a question mark? Yeah, if I can do that big question mark, anything as it stays within this area here, as it stays within this area, it's just really uncertain. It could break right up, it could break right back down. It's just in that area that you want to watch out for. Okay, so we'll look at potentially that on the pound. I was very keen on it to sell down, but I'm thinking it could bounce back up. We look at the euro, also possibly bouncing back up, but euro has dropped a lot more. All right, the euro has dropped a lot more, and it's found 38.2 so far. That move up makes sense. It's come right back down to 38.2, support level at 1.1. This case, I would actually be thinking that it might sit there, push back up a little bit. I might see it test, and then I want to see it test this level. Well, test this level here. Right? So I wouldn't be so keen to buy the euro up. I want to see the euro. Well, I got it there. Look for reaction at 1.1 round number support level. If this pushes up towards that 102 level, that'd be perfect, because then what we'll be looking at is that kind of potential move on the dollar, which could then drive the euro down towards the support and then right back up again. Bouncing off that 50, that would be quite nice. Quite nice. Okay, so I'll keep that, looking for a reaction at 1.1. Then onto the euro pound. So this was what we were talking before, just pretty much just before this session on Discord, where we were thinking that it's going to break up and push to the upside. If that pound dollar was going to break back down, we could see a push back up on the euro pound. But pound dollar now testing that support slash now resistance level and could push back up, right? If it tests and reject back down, great. We'll look to sell it down. But it could, it's a bit undecided there. Euro could drop back down as well. So euro pound, again, we are still looking for that upside. I think even if, let me move this to the side, even if the euro pound pushes back down to the support, I wouldn't get into anything. I would still be looking at 8440 20 to 60 to the upside. Okay, so if the euro pound does push back down, or it's pushing now, it comes back down to the support and bounce around, I'll still be looking for the upside. Euro, dollar, pound dollar pushing back up is going to drag this down. So you still want to see what happens at 8.4. 8.4 has been a good strong level since June on the 4 hour time frame. On the daily time frame, the last time we broke 8.4 or went below 8.4 was in 2022. So again, back to the current, I think that's a reasonable expectation, right? So look for 8.4 to hold and bounce, either to push down and bounce or to sit along that point and push back up. Then, yeah, Diana just said in the chat, I'm still bullish for the euro pound. I'm just trying to figure out, would it be the euro pushing up, which seems a little bit unlikely, that could push the euro pound up, or will it be the pound that's coming right back down that's going to push the euro pound up? Which seems the more likely scenario, but it looks like it could push up a little bit first. Right? I think that actually pound, dollar, you might give it a bit more space. You might want to do that. Right? So I'm thinking 1.3170 40 to 90. 1.3170 40 to 90. Because I want to give it a bit of space. It could just bounce and turn right back down again. Because I'm just looking at the euro pound. If it looks like it's going to push up, but what's going to push it up? Doesn't look like the euro, more likely the pound crashing. So we'll look for that. What can drive the pound up? I'm actually thinking that the dollar pushing down would be the one that drives the pound up. We don't have any pound news for today. And even through to tomorrow, it's only the services PMI. So I don't see, it's a bit, I don't see that happening. So I think it's going to sit there until the dollar develops or decides what it wants to do. Okay, those payroll creeps higher, that's fine. Not too fussed about that. All right, then, so pound dollar, we're going to give it a bit more space. Yeah, it's just in that area that we want to see what happens, right? We want to see what happens there. If we are thinking that the pound dollar could push down, then you'll be looking at below 1.3110. Same thing like we talked about yesterday, 40 pips to 60 to the downside, 70 to the downside. Right? You'll be looking at that. Um, but you know what? You know, the funny thing is that, and I haven't planned this at all, but we look at Kiwi, we're a bit undecided. It's going to retrace, it's going to come back down. The Aussie looks like it's going to retrace, trying to figure out where it's going to retrace to. Aussie, Kiwi, a bit undecided in the middle. Pound dollar, right at the level, could break up, could turn down. Euro dollar, right in the middle as well. Euro pound, we could see it push up, but we want to find a reason behind it. It all looks a little bit, this could happen, that could happen. It's undecided, you know. But when you come to the yen, right, and this, like Diana said so simply, this is my favorite pair, right? My favorite currency. It's so straightforward. It's so straightforward. We looked at this yesterday, right? We looked at this yesterday and way through last week as well. Yesterday we just said look for reaction at 147 resistance. What did yen do? It went. This was where we were yesterday. Zoom in one more. This was where we were yesterday. Finished the session. It went from 146.45 up to 147. Tested as high as 147.20. I did a couple of scalps to the upside here. Held off at 147, just waited. And then this morning, it pushed right back down. It pushed right back down. And if you look at this, right, even before that, this point here, TSRI MACD telling you get in, you could sell this down. And imagine if I didn't, right, at that point, midnight was a bit too late for me already to try and get into trade, to make a sensible trade. But if you did that and you just had your stop loss just above that previous high, right, and your take profit, if you took it down to that point or down to that point or down to that previous swing level there, that's a good 80, almost 90 pip move to the downside. Okay, so that was midnight last night. This was what I got into today. Been trading it down, been trading the yen down as it rejected that 147 level. All right, and 147 also coincided with that 61.8 as it pushed off that resistance. Now let me take these lines away for now. And you see that if we take this from the bottom right to the top, it's broke 23.6. It's come close to 38.2, which is the 145.80 level. It's hesitating a little bit right now, right? Look at the dollar. It's also thinking of hesitating and thinking of what to do next. So when I come to the yen, what I'm looking for, and hang on, I'll put this in as well. You see why it's retracing is because of it dropped out of the Bollinger, now it's coming back in. All I'm looking for right now is a retrace and then a push back down, or to sit there and then a push back down. Okay, so on the on the US yen, what I'll be looking for as it pushes, and you look at on H4 as well, pushing right down is that it breaks below 145.80 to 145.70, which is not very far away. You got a 25 pip stop loss down to that 61.8. You're a good 80 pip move to the downside. Right? So I'm looking for that on the US yen. 145 dot. So can't remember the nickname there. Asking about my view on the yen. Looking at a downside move, 145.70, 25 to 80 to the downside. Let me see. With this, sell 145.70, stop loss 25, take profit 70 to the downside. And I'm very excited to show you this. No, 80. There we go. Right, and I'm very excited to show you this. Oh, look at it, it's moving already. On the euro yen, perfectly. I got into this, I was so happy because right after our session, this was our session, right after our session, it closed up. I got in, I just went getting a small trade. It went straight up. It just almost no drawdown apart from spread, went straight up 62 pips. I had it at 60. I didn't catch 62. Just at 60 there, closed out. Right within 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, closed out on my euro yen to the upside, tested that previous high, and then reversed right back down. Again, I didn't sell this down this morning. Only sold the US yen, right? So if you look at this, we can take that one away actually. What did I do? Okay, we can take that away. Then now when you look at this on the euro yen, back up, it's sitting right at that 50% level. Right, it's sitting right at 50%. The only thing here is that US yen looks like it's trying to push down. Not entirely ready yet, still deciding. Euro dollar looks like it might push down again, takes a little bit of time. So I'm thinking that the euro yen could push back down a bit, going to fluctuate, bounce around here for a little while before we see it drop, or before we could see it drop. What you're looking at here would be about 161.30. A little bit, no, you want it below that. So 61.8 is possibly going to be somewhere there. There you go. So I want it below 61.8. So 161.15. Stop loss, I'll have it a little bit wider at 40. My take profit will be down to about 80 pips to the downside. Right? So I wanted to break below that point before I'll look to sell it out. Right now at that 50% level. So traded it up, hit the resistance, look to trade it right back down again within that nice range. Not saying that it's definitely going to happen, just a bit of a disclaimer as well. Okay, so 161.15, 40 to 80 to the downside on the euro yen. Very similar, pound yen as well, got into that. So I had the pound yen and the euro yen. So I entered smaller, a lot smaller on that because I had these two pairs at the same time. So that traded up. I didn't catch 80. I caught like 75 to the upside, right? So that one did well, hit the top, push right back down. Support turned resistance again. You can see, look at that. That level, 61.8, I know it's broken, but I keep it there. We've seen it reject, reject, reject. It's tested. Now, if you drag this that way, right, you see that whole trend line there. What you want to see is that reaction along this point, which actually, if you look at this, it's just about there. Oh, wait. if you look at this, in that area, I feel like it could do anything, right? I didn't draw it properly. Yeah, try again. I think that in that area, I don't know. I can't draw a triangle today. Okay, in that area, it's going to do something because we have that basically what we have is that horizontal equal low that we have there, that trend line, the bullish trend line to the upside. And you can see that it actually has been holding for quite long. So if that breaks and that breaks, then we could see a big downside move. This would be supported by pound dollar breaking right down. If it pushes right back up, it's at an equal low there. US yen is sitting there. So if US yen drops, we could see the pound yen drop. Now it's right in that area here that we're going to see what happens. Okay, so nothing on the pound yen at this point, but I am watching for a potential break to the downside of that trend line. Make sense so far? Put it into the chat. Let me know if it's all good. If you haven't already, do help me out to click that like and subscribe button. Then onto the US Swiss franc. That didn't come close at all. It's still pushing up. I don't need that. Dollar index is still sitting there. Swiss franc is pushing up. We had the GDP being released was 0.5, expected 0.5, came out at 0.7. So that's why, well, that shouldn't be why we see this push up. But I feel like, what was it? CPI at a 0 is possibly going to be the another reason why the Swiss could cut rates, right? The Swiss National Bank, the SNB, could cut rates, so we see it pushing back up. Take these away. Now, if you look at that, pushing right down, 50% being right there. Oops, what happened? 61. Now, looking at this, needs to break the resistance before it could push up. Look at it on H4. It's a bit of an equal low there, pushing back up. I want to see a reaction at this resistance level. Let me see. I don't need that. That's done. I have that. So I wouldn't be too tempted to buy it up just because I have that as an area. And again, I'm possibly biased against the US Swiss franc just because I don't trade it that much or at all. But I'm looking for it to come up towards that resistance. I think that it could, especially if the dollar it's not doing it now, but if it does have that downside potential, then we could see it push down. So we're looking for that test and then maybe push back down again. Okay. US Swiss franc, I'll look for it to test resistance A level. Right, so US Swiss franc could trade higher. Look for reaction at resistance level. Okay, then this one I've been watching since this morning. Right, we had that downward push, got a shoulder test, we got a shoulder, head, shoulder, and then that neckline and that whole area. We spoke about this yesterday as well, looking for it to push up. It came right up, and then as it pushed out, it was, I'll take that away for now. It was outside of the Bollinger, so I wasn't ready to get into that despite, that inverted head and shoulder, and then breaking above that neck, not neckline, but neck area, right? It pushed out very nicely, but it was outside of the Bollinger, so I anticipated that it was going to come back in, and it came back in, right? It came back in. So now at this point, that one's done. Take that away. Looking at the way it's moving, you could, I wouldn't, but I wouldn't. Let me see. I'll revise this down to a more recent level, right? So you could trade it down. I don't like it. It just seems a little bit too narrow, a bit too close. 1.35, stop loss 30, take profit 50 to the downside. Um, Not something I'll be very keen on. I think that with that trend line as well, what you'll be looking at is 1.3490, 30 to 40 again is not great. So US CAD could break down. You're looking for a reaction of that support level, 1.3440. Nothing to excite. I don't think it's worth the risk there on the US CAD. Look for could trade lower. Look for reaction at support of 1.3440. Okay. Then on to look at the yen. Look at the yen sitting, coming right back down again. Then on to gold, and then after that, I'll look at pound Swiss franc. I haven't forgotten Diana, so just hang on there. Gold, yesterday we said break above 2500, could trade up 2515, 2530, needs to stay above 2480. Look at what it did. It came right down to 2492, almost tried to break 2480 or 2490, and it shows like a small bounce back up. I would still think that there's upside, but it's going to get choppy, right? So it's going to get choppy. It's going to be choppy up until 2508. Okay, so I think gold is going to be choppy price action until 2508. Beyond that, could trade up to 2520. 2520. Okay. Then on to pound Swizzy. I didn't trade this. We did a good analysis. We said it's going to come down and bounce back up above 50, trade up to that previous high. That was last week on Thursday. Take that away. Those levels are all done. Take those away. It's had a big push up. Resistance right there. Big resistance up there. We're looking at that. As this whole area, it needs to break above 1.2140, 1.1240 to trade higher. Again, it comes down to that big question of what's going to happen on the pound dollar, right? It doesn't, it shows like it could take a while for a small push up, but it could come right back down again. I know I'm not being very definitive, but it's just undecided at that level. So if the pound dollar does push back up, then we could see this go right up, but I kind of want to see the pound dollar come down. I kind of think that this could test and then push back down again. So you kind of, well, not kind of, you definitely want to see what happens at 1.1240. Yeah, yeah. So I kind of, I want to see a reaction there at 1.1240, then look to sell it down. Um, yeah, I think we talked about that. Pound Sweezy going to 1.12. It wasn't. I can't remember when we talked about it, but it wasn't a big surprise. It was 1.1160 kind of level. Um, but yeah, they have to be right. Come on, they're smartest people around. 1.12 test reject. Uh, we're looking at that. So what you're looking at is a push up, a test, a reject, a break of that trend line back down. You could take it a little bit nearer. So 1.12. I think that would be very optimistic. I think that is very optimistic because there are a couple of levels in there that you would want to watch out for. Right? So you could test and reject and sell down. Don't think it's going to get to 100 straight away. Couple of levels to watch out for there. Okay, does that make sense? You look, the level 1.12 was rejected multiple times. Yeah, it's right there. 1.12 is right there, so it's rejected. Um, I feel that it might not, it might push a little bit higher. Oh, it's rejecting now, but I feel like it might push a little bit higher just because we're trying to see what happens here on the pound dollar. So pound Sweezy, if pound dollar pushes up, pound Sweezy go up. And also I would kind of prefer for it to test and reject. You get a better setup that way. If it reverses from here, it's going to be more tricky. It's going to be more tricky. You might want to see, if you wanted to, you look for it to come back up a little bit more. Then you look at just below 1.12, so 1.11, about there, 1.12. Then you have a tight stop of 15, and that, oops, 1.12. You have a tight stop of 15, and then you look to kind of trade it back down. Yeah, I think it could push back up a little bit more. Okay, so again, I'm not going to keep the stream running. Something I don't think it's moving that much. So I hope you found the session useful. With the setups, please remember disclaimer applies. If you have any questions, join us on Discord if you haven't already. The link for my mailing list is in the descriptions below somewhere. If you're watching this as a video, not on live stream, do leave a comment and a feedback in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And please trade well, trade safe, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Take care now. Bye bye.